Video game sequels often act as a celebration of their predecessors and a loving reward to those who played them. However, they're not always so gracious. The following sequels, one way or another, made you feel like the devs were throwing up an L sign and poking their tongues out at you. I'm Sai for WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 video games that mocked you for buying the sequel. Number 10, Mass Effect Andromeda. Creating another Mass Effect game after the sublime original trilogy was always going to be risky. Still, that didn't stop BioWare from saying "hold my beer" as they shot out a cash grab from their beloved IP. And how did it go? Well, aside from being a broken and buggy mess, Andromeda also spat in the face of Mass Effect fans with its lack of concern for series canon. So overall, not great. There are many ways that this prequel game screwed up the series' continuity. For example, the timeline regarding the genophage was unnecessarily convoluted, with Andromeda scientists seeking to cure a Krogan at a time when the infamous biological weapon was still actively enforced by the Solarians. Additionally, there's also plenty of technological confusion. How is it that humanity was able to create the ODSY engine, which rivals the intergalactic traversal tech from the trilogy only 20 years after achieving space travel? It just doesn't make sense, which goes for many of the lore mishaps in the game. And the reason that most Mass Effect fans love Mass Effect is the story, the universe, and the lore, so, don't get that wrong. Otherwise, it's going to feel like a cash grab and not a truly deserved sequel. Number 9, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 2023. The Call of Duty series is no stranger to mocking its player base. Still, the franchise really outdid itself in 2023 with a big release that felt akin to a firm punch to the face. So let's talk about the remake of Modern Warfare 3. This COD release presented itself like a full-on remake or remaster of the 2011 title it shares its name with. Sadly, the 2023 version of Modern Warfare 3 was a shell of a video game in the purest of terms. The campaign was embarrassingly short and filled with lazy levels that reused old maps and forced you into mundane sandbox missions. The narrative was also threadbare, with an ending that didn't even conclude the story. It felt more like glorified DLC than a remake of the final act of the Modern Warfare trilogy. Shockingly, there was a reason for that, as the game began life as an expansion pack for Modern Warfare 2 before being upgraded to a standalone release. That's right, this game mocks you for buying the sequel because it's, in many ways, not actually a sequel. It's an expansion with a AAA price tag on it. Number 8, Deltarune. The boots that Deltarune had to fill were bigger than a final boss's health bar. Still, one of the funniest things about the game's initial chapters is that they not only switched up the formula, but also mocked gamers who came in looking to play another Undertale. Deltarune constantly pokes the bear, with the bear being the players and the stick being their expectations. For a start, the game begins with a character creation suite that tasks you with making a vessel. However, your character gets discarded immediately because, quote, no one can choose who they are. This move makes it clear right off the bat that the player agency found in Undertale will be far less freeing here. You can also learn early on that the game will be far more linear, telling you where to go and limiting your choices. There's also plenty of self-referential moments poking fun at your Undertale expectations. For example, a party member by the name of Susie will constantly try to fight enemies to ruin your no-death pacifist run that the game knows you're trying to do. All this reminds you that whilst it's similar, you're not actually playing Undertale 2, so you better buckle up and get used to it. Number 7, Spec Ops The Line. Fans of the tactical shooter series Spec Ops were in a dark place in the decade following 2002 as their beloved franchise, which already had 9 titles to its name, was devoid of new content. That thankfully changed when the series returned in 2012 with Spec Ops The Line. However, this game did more than revive an old series. It looked right into your soul and said, "You're wrong for wanting this." For the uninitiated, Spec Ops The Line was a fascinating video game that shattered the fourth wall and openly criticised the glorification of violence and militarism in the gaming industry. It initially played out like a good old-fashioned military shooter, but soon devolved into a painful mess, as you actively took part in horrendous war crimes and immoral actions. Besides the narrative selling the horrors of war and American imperialism, it also talked straight to you in some meta loading screens. These intrusive moments said things like, "Do you feel like a hero yet? You're still a good person, and this is all your fault." Overall, it looked at you and asked, why did you buy this, and why do you want to live out the horrors of war? And damn, that's one hell of a truth bomb. Number 6, Shenmue III. Some video game sequels are so desired yet so distant they become almost mythical. The third installment of Yu Suzuki's iconic Shenmue series was one such game, however it broke the development hell curse after nearly 2 decades with the shocking release of Shenmue III. The question is, were the years of pining and desperation worth it? Well, no, not even close, but Shenmue III doesn't land on this list for simply being a bad game. No, it earns its place thanks to the infamous ending, which was nothing short of direct mockery. Wading through the tedious and poorly designed Shenmue III is frustrating, but something that kept players going was the thought that they'd finally defeat the legendary series antagonist, Lan Di. But oh boy, were they ever wrong. In the end, not only do you not defeat Lan Di, you don't even land a single hit on him, as he easily blocks all of your attacks and kicks your butt. Shenmue III then ends with the promise that Suzuki will work hard to make Shenmue IV happen. So we waited 18 years just to be beaten down and told to wait some more. That is mockery at its finest. Number 5, Monkey Island 2 LeChuck's Revenge. One of gaming history's most joyous chapters was the era of LucasArts point-and-click adventures. Chief among these delightful games was the Monkey Island series, which gave gamers hilarious stories, fun characters, and challenging puzzles. However, that last one became a sticking point when it came time for its first sequel, and LucasArts took it out on the players. A major complaint that many had with the original secret of Monkey Island was that the puzzles were far too difficult and obtuse. As such, the developers added a special mode into the second game to help returning players known as Monkey 2 Lite. That might sound like a nice move from LucasArts, but the entire thing was actually a tongue-in-cheek jab at bad gamers, as the mode automatically solved almost all of the puzzles for you. This left players with little to do but watch the cutscenes. But that wasn't everything, as the game also featured a hilarious fourth wall-breaking gag in the Lucasfilm Games hint line. Calling this phone number put you in contact with a disgruntled employee who complained about having to answer your mundane questions. She even mocked you when asking for hints, stating, "Figure it out, knucklehead. No, that's supposed to be your job." Number 4, The Last of Us Part 2. There are some who hate The Last of Us Part 2, but it's hard to deny that it's a masterpiece no matter how you slice it, and part of that is how it mocked those who played its predecessor. Firstly, let's talk about that infamous character death. One thing gamers were foaming at the mouth for in this seminal sequel was being reunited with Joel and Ellie. Sadly, the game shattered those dreams by brutally killing Joel off in an agonising cutscene. Ouch. However, besides breaking your heart, the game also directly challenged your thoughts on the characters and your actions. The entire premise centres on the cycle of vengeance that Ellie goes on to avenge Joel. And guess what? That's you. Yes, you, the player who took control of Joel in the previous game and murdered all of those people. You who shoots down anyone you're told to. You who hates Abby for doing the exact same thing you are. This game screams in your face that no matter how much you love a character, their actions and yours have consequences. The question is, when does mockery become fine art? There's no exact way to know, but the devs at Naughty Dog certainly gave it a shot here. Number 3, Payday II. No one likes an NPC that can one-shot you. As such, the word cloaker sends a shiver down the spine of any aspiring bank robbers, as these Payday enemies are a nightmare that can down you with one swift kick. However, the tepid relationship between gamers and these special enemies took a highly meta turn in the second installment of the FPS heist franchise. The cloakers dominated the first Payday, leaving many to dread their inclusion in the sequel. And thankfully for those people, they weren't actually initially in the game, allowing for some far easier heists. However, a horde of gamers missed these psychos and took to the internet to complain about their absence. Well, the devs heard the outcry and they gave the people what they wanted. Be careful what you wish for. When the cloakers did arrive in Payday 2, they came with a boatload of fourth wall breaking insults, mocking the players who hated them in the first game and those who complained about wanting them back. Highlights include "Miss me, didn't you? You wanted me back, so I'm back. We'll call this a difficulty tweak. Now go to the forums and cry like the little bitch you are." Yes, it's safe to say the players felt royally mocked by this enemy's triumphant return. Number 2, Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony. Danganronpa is a twisted Japanese series that revolves around various high school students murdering each other at the behest of an evil robotic teddy bear. Fun stuff. Each game and spin-off follows this battle royale death fest formula. However, the controversial climax of the third title took this franchise's very existence and flipped it on its head. The final moment of Danganronpa V3 revealed that the characters involved in this round of killings are secretly part of a reality TV show based on the Danganronpa series. Furthermore, it even claims the same for every previous title, implying that everyone involved has fake memories planted in their heads and that the entire world is nothing but fiction. That's right, nothing you've played across the franchise has actually been real. You've been tricked into loving characters and games that have been a lie the whole time. Naturally, there's plenty of discourse on whether this ending is considered canon, but there's no denying it acts as a direct reflection of the players and mocks them for loving Danganronpa. And number 1, XCOM 2. The hilarious thing about XCOM 2 is that it directly mocks the player base in a way you might have missed. But make no mistake, the events that transpire in this fantastic sequel are a clear jab at gamers and a direct result of their actions. That's right, this one is on you. Those who picked up the sequel to 2012's XCOM Enemy Unknown might have been disappointed to learn that the alien invasion they attempted to repel in the previous game ultimately succeeded. Yes, E.T. didn't need to phone home because Earth was their home now. And the goal of XCOM 2 was to send them packing. So why did the devs at Firaxis Games opt for such a downer of a setup? Well, it's because gamers really did lose the war against the aliens. Game data gathered from XCOM Enemy Unknown revealed that the success rates for players finishing the game and beating the planetary invaders were shockingly low. As such, the devs decided to go ahead and canonize their failure. That's right, when you play XCOM 2, you're all but looking at the messy results of your terrible gaming skills. Talk about a slap to the ego.